Proverbs chapter 28. The wicked run away when no one is chasing them, but the godly are as bold as lions. When there is a moral rot between a nation, its government topples easily, but wise and knowledgeable leaders bring stability. A poor person who oppresses the poor is like a pounding rain that destroys the crops. To reject the law is to praise the wicked. To obey the law is to fight them. Evil people don't understand justice, but those who follow the Lord understand completely. Better to be poor and honest than to be dishonest and rich. Young people who obey the law are wise. Those with wild friends bring shame to their parents. Income from charging high interest rates will end up in the pocket of someone who is kind to the poor. God detests the prayers of a person who ignores the law. Those who lead good people along an evil path will fall into their own trap, but the honest will inherit good things. Rich people may think they are wise, but a poor person will discriminate, can see right through them. When the godly succeed, everyone is glad. When the wicked takes charge, people go into hiding. People who conceal their sins will not prosper, but if they confess and turn away from them, they will receive mercy. Blessed are those who fear to do wrong, but the stubborn are headed for serious trouble. The wicked ruler is as dangerous to the poor as a roaring lion or an attacking deer. A ruler who, with no understanding, will oppress his people, but the one who hates corruption will have a long life. A murderer tormented conscience will drive him into the grave. Don't protect him. The blameless will be rescued from harm, but the crooked will be suddenly destroyed. A hard worker has plenty of food, but a person who chases fantasy ends up in poverty. The trustworthy person will get a rich reward, but a person who wants quick riches will get into trouble. Showing partiality is never good, yet some will do wrong for a mere piece of bread. Greedy people try to get rich quick, but don't realize they're heading for poverty. In the end, people appreciate honest criticism far more than flattery. Anyone who stands for his father and mother and says, "What's wrong with that?" is no better than a murderer. Greed causes fighting. Trusting the Lord leads to prosperity. Those who trust their own insight are foolish, but anyone who talks in wisdom is safe. Whoever gives to the poor will lack nothing, but those who close their eyes to poverty will be cursed. When the wicked takes charge, people get into hiding. When the wicked meets disaster, the godly flourish. Proverbs chapter 29. Whoever stubbornly refuses to accept criticism will suddenly be destroyed beyond recovery. When the godly are in authority, the people rejoice, but when the wicked are in power, they groan. The man who loves wisdom brings joy to his father, but if he hangs around with prostitutes, his wealth is wasted. A king gives stability to a nation, but the one who demands bribe destroys it. To flatter friends is to lay a trap to their feet. Evil people are trapped by sin, but the righteous escape shouting for joy. The godly cares about the rights of the poor. The wicked don't care at all. Mockers can get a whole town agitated, but the wise will calm anger. If a person takes a fool to court, there will be a ranting and ridicule but no satisfaction. The bloodthirsty hate blameless people. but the upright seek to help them. Fools vent their anger, but the wise quietly hold it back. If a ruler pays attention to a liar, all his advisors will be wicked. The poor and the oppressor have this in common. The Lord gives sight to the eyes of both. If a king judges the poor fairly, his throne will last forever. To discipline a child produces wisdom, but a mother is disgraced by an undisciplined child. When the wicked are in authority, sin flourishes, but the godly will live to see their downfall. Discipline your child, and they will give you peace of mind and will make your heart glad. When people do not accept divine guidance, they run wild, but whoever obeys the law is joyful. Words alone will not discipline a servant. The words may be understood, but they are not headed. There is more hope for a fool than someone who speaks without thinking. A servant pampered from childhood will become a rebel. An angry person starts fight. A hot-tempered person commits all kinds of sin. Pride ends in humiliation, while humility brings honor. If you assist a thief, you only hurt yourself. You are sworn to tell the truth, but you dare not testify. Fearing people is a dangerous trap, but trusting the Lord means safety. Many seek rulers' favor, but justice comes from the Lord. The righteous despise the unjust, the wicked despise the godly. Proverbs chapter 30, the saying of Agur son of Jacob, contains this message. I am weary, O Lord, I am weary and worn out, O God. I am too stupid to be human, and I lack common sense. I have mastered human wisdom, nor do I know the Holy One. Who but God goes up to heaven and comes back down? Who holds the wind in his fist? Who wraps up the ocean in his cloak? Who has created the whole wide world? What is his name and his son's name? Tell me if I know you. Even every word of God proves true. He is a shield to those who come to him for protection. Do not add to his words, or he may rebuke you and expose you as a liar. O God, I beg 2 favors from you. Let me have them before I die. First, help me never to tell a lie. Second, give me neither poverty nor riches. Give me just enough to satisfy my needs. For if I grow rich, I may deny you and say, who is the Lord? And if I am poor, I may steal and thus insult God. Never slander to work to the employer, or the person will curse you and you will pay for it. Some people curse their father and do not thank their mother. They are pure in their own eyes, but they are filthy and unwashed. They look proudly around, casting disdainful glances. They have teeth like swords and fangs like knives. They devour the poor from the earth and the needy from among humanity. The leech has 2 suckers, and they cry out, more, more. There are 3 things that are never satisfied, no, 4 that never says enough. The grave, the barren womb, the thirsty desert, the blazing fire. The eye that mocks a father and despises a mother's instruction will be plucked out by the ravens of the valley and eaten by vultures. There are 3 things that amazes me, no 4 things that I don't understand. How an eagle glides through the sky, how a snake slitters on the rock, how a ship navigates the ocean, how a man loves a woman. An adulterous woman consumes a man, then wipes her mouth and says, what's wrong with that? There are 3 things that makes the earth tremble, no 4 it can't endure. A slave who becomes a king, an overbearing fool who prospers, a bitter woman who finally gets a husband, a servant girl who supplants her mistakes, There are four things on earth that are small but usually ants that aren't strong but they store up food all summer. Ices, they aren't powerful but they make their homes among the rocks. Locusts, they don't have a king but they march in formation. Lizards, they are easy to catch but they are found even in kings' palaces. There are three things that walks with stately stride, no four that strout about. A lion, king of animals who won't turn aside for anything. The strutting rooster, the male goat, a king as he heads his army. If you have been a fool by being proud or plotting evil, cover your mouth in shame. As the beating of cream yield butter, the striking the nose causes bleeding, no stirring up anger cause quarrel. Proverbs chapter 31. The saying of King Lemuel. The saying of the King Lemuel contains this message, which his mother taught him. O my son of my womb, O son of my vows, do not waste your strength on women, on those who ruin kings. It is not for the kings, O Lemuel, to guzzle wine. Rulers should not crave alcohol. If they drink, they may forget the law and not give justice to the oppressed. Alcohol is for the dying, and the wine is for those in bitter distress. Let them drink to forget their poverty and remember their troubles no more. Speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves. Ensure justice for those being crushed. Yes, speak up for those poor and helpless and see that they get justice. A wife of a noble character. Who can find a virtuous and a capable wife? She is more precious than rubies. Her husband can trust her, and she will greatly enrich his life. She brings him good, not harm, all the days of her life. She finds wool and flax, and busily spins it. She is like a merchant ship, bringing her food from afar. She gets up before dawn and prepares breakfast for her household, and plans the daily work for her servant's girl. She goes to inspect the field and buys it. With her earnings, she plants a vineyard. She is energetic and strong, and a hard worker. She makes sure her dealings are profitable. Her lamp burns late into the night. Her hands are busy spinning thread. Her finger twists fiber. She extends a helping hand to the poor and opens her arms to the needy. She has no fear of winter or for her household, for everyone has warm clothes. She makes her own bedspreads. She dresses in fine linen and purple gowns. Her husband is well known at the city gates, and he sits with the other civic leaders. She makes belted linen garments and sashes to sell to the merchant. She is clothed with strength and dignity. She laughs without fear of the future. When she speaks, her words are wise, and she gives instruction with kindness. She carefully watches everything in her household and suffers nothing from laziness. Her children stand and bless her. Her husband praises her. And there are many virtues and a capable woman in the world, but you must surpass them all. Charm is deceptive, and beauty does not last. But a woman who fears the Lord will be greatly praised. Reward her for all she has done. Let her deeds publicly declare her praise. Statistics chapter 1. These are the words of the teacher, King David's son, who ruled in Jerusalem. Everything is meaningless. Everything is meaningless as a teacher, completely meaningless. What do people get for all their hand works under the sun? Generation comes and generations go, but the earth never changes. The sun rises and the sun sets, and hurries around to rise again. The wind blows south and turns north. Around and around it goes, blowing in circles. Rivers run into sea, but the sea is never full. Then the water returns again to the rivers and flows out again to the sea. Everything is wearisome beyond description, no matter how much we see. We are never satisfied. No matter how much we hear, we are not content. History merely repeats itself. It has all been done before. Nothing under the sun is truly new. Sometimes people say, history never repeats itself. It has always been done before. Nothing under the sun is truly new. Sometimes people say, here is something new, but actually it is old. Nothing is never truly new. We don't remember what happened in the past and in the future generations. No one will remember what we were doing now. The teacher speaks the futility of wisdom. The teacher was king of Israel. I lived in Jerusalem, devoted myself to search for understanding and to explore by wisdom everything being done under heaven. I soon discovered that God has dealt a tragic existence in the human race, observed everything going on under the sun, and really it is all meaningless, like chasing the wind. What wrong cannot be made right? What is missing cannot be recovered. I said to myself, look, I am wiser than any of the kings who ruled in Jerusalem before me. I have greater wisdom and knowledge than any of them. So I see out to learn everything from wisdom to madness and fooling. But I learned firsthand that pursuing all this is like chasing the wind. The greater my wisdom, the greater my grief. To increase knowledge only increases sorrow. Ecclesiastes chapter 2. The futility of pleasure. So I said to myself, come on, let's try pleasure. Let's look to the good things in life. But I found that this was too meaningless. So I said, laughter is silly. What good does it do to seek pleasure? After much thought, I decided to cheer myself with wine. And while still seeking wisdom, I clutched at foolishness. In this way, I tried to experience the only happiness the most people find during their belief life in this world. I also tried to find meaning by building huge homes for myself and by planting beautiful vineyards. I made gardens and parks, filling them with all kinds of fruit trees. I built reservoirs to collect water to irrigate my many flourishing groves. I bought slaves, both men and women, and others were born into my household. I also owned large herds of flocks, more than any of the kings who had lived in Jerusalem before me. I collected great sums of silver and gold, treasures of many kings and provinces. I hired wonderful singers, both men and women, and had many beautiful concubines. I had everything a man could desire. So I greatly than all who had lived in Jerusalem before me, and my wisdom never failed me. Anything I wanted, I would take. I denied myself no pleasure. I even found great pleasure in hard work, a reward for all my labors. But as I looked at everything I had worked so hard to accomplish, it was all so meaningless. Like chasing a wind, there was nothing really worthwhile anywhere. The wise and the foolish. So I decided to compare wisdom and foolishness and madness. So who can do this better than I? The king? I thought, wisdom is better than foolishness, but as light is better than darkness, for the wise can see where they are going, but fools walk in the dark. Yet I saw that The wise and the foolish share the same fate. Both will die. So I said to myself, since I will end up with the same as the fool, what's the value of all the wisdom? This is all so meaningless. So, for the wise and the foolish both die, the wise will not be remembered any longer than the fool in the days to come. Both will be forgotten. So I hate life because everything done here under the sun is so troubling. Everything is meaningless, like chasing the wind. The futility of work. I come to hate all my hard work here on earth, for I must leave the other everything I have earned. And who can tell whether my successors will be wise or foolish? Yet they will control everything I have gained by my skill and hard work under the sun. How meaningless! So I gave up in despair, questioning the value of all the hard work in this world. Some people work wisely with knowledge and skill and must leave the fruit of their efforts to someone who hasn't worked for it. This too is meaningless. The great tragedy. So, what do people get in this life after all their hard work and anxiety? These days of labor are filled with pain and grief. Even at night, their minds cannot rest. It is all meaningless. So I decided that there is nothing better than to enjoy food and drink and to find satisfaction in work. Then I realized that these pleasures are from the hand of God. For who can eat and enjoy anything apart from Him? God gives wisdom, knowledge, and joy to those who please Him. But if a sinner becomes wealthy, God takes that wealth away and gives it to those who pleases Him. This too is meaningless, like chasing the wind. Ecclesiastes chapter 3. A time for everything. For everything there is a reason, a time for every activity under heaven. A time to be born, a time to die. A time to plant, a time to harvest. A time to kill, a time to heal, a time to tear down, a time to build up, a time to cry, a time to laugh, a time to grieve, and the time to dance, time to scatter stones, and times to gather stones, time to embrace, and time to turn away, a time to search, and time to quit searching, a time to keep, a time to throw away, time to tear, and time to mend, time to be quiet and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time to war and time for peace. What to do really get all their hard work. I have seen the burden God has placed on us all, yet God made everything beautiful for His own time. He has planted eternity in the human heart. But even so, people cannot see the whole scope of God's work from beginning to end. So I concluded there is nothing better than to be happy and enjoy ourselves as long as we can. The people should eat and drink and enjoy the fruits of their labor, for these are the gifts from God. And I know that whatever God does is final. Nothing can be added or be taken away from it. God's purpose is that people should fear Him. That's happening now, has happened before, and what will happen in the future has happened before, because God makes the same thing happen over and over again. The injustice of life. I also noticed that under the sun there is evil in the courtroom. Yes, even the courtroom of law are corrupt. Said to myself, in due season God will judge everyone, both good and bad, for all their deeds. So I thought about the human condition, how God proves to people that they are like animals. For people and animals share the same fate. Both breed and both must die. So people have no real advantage over the animals. How meaningless. Both go to the same place they come from, dust, and they return to dust. For who can prove that human spirit goes up and the spirit of animal goes down into the earth? So I saw that there is nothing better for people than to be happy in their work. That is our lot in life, and no one can bring us back to see what happened after we die. Ecclesiastes chapter 4. Again I observed all the oppression that takes place under the sun. I saw the tears of the oppressed, with no one to control them. The oppressors have great power, and their victims are helpless. So I concluded that the end are better off than the living. The most fortunate of all are those who are not yet born, for they have not seen all the evil that is done under the sun. Then I observed that the most part people are motivated to success because they envy their neighbors. But this too is meaningless, like chasing the wind. Fools fold their idle hands, leading them into ruin. And yet, better to have one handful with quietness than two handful with hard work and chasing the wind. The advantage of companionship. I observed yet another example of something meaningless under the sun. This is the case of a man who is all alone, without a child or a brother, yet who works hard to gain as much wealth as he can. But then he asks himself, who am I working for? What am I giving up so much pleasure now? It is all so meaningless and depressing. Two people are better than one, for they can help each other succeed. If one falls, the other can reach out and help. But someone who falls alone is in real trouble. Likewise, people lying close together can keep each other warm. So how can one be warm alone? A person standing alone can be attacked and defeated, but two can stand back to back and conquer. Three are even better, for a triple braided cord is not easily broken. The futility of political power. It is better to be poor but wise youth than an old and a foolish king who refuses all advice. Yet a youth could rise from poverty and succeed. He might even become king, though he has been in prison. But then everyone rushes to the side of yet another youth who replaces him. Endless crowd stands around him, but then another generation grows up and rejects him too. So it is all meaningless, like chasing the wind. Ecclesiastes chapter 5. Approaching God with care. As you enter the house of God, keep your ears open and your mouth shut. It is evil to make mindless offering to God. Don't make rash promises and don't be hasty in bringing matters before God. After all, God is in heaven and you are here on earth. So let your words be few. Too much activity gives you restless dreams. Too many words makes you a fool. When you make a promise to God, don't delay in following through. For God takes no pleasure in fools. Keep all the promises you make to Him. It is better to say nothing than to make a promise and not keep it. Don't let your mouth make you sin, and don't defend yourself by telling the temple messenger that the promise you made was a mistake. That would make God angry. He might wipe out everything you have achieved. Talk is cheap, like daydreamers and other useless activities. Fear God instead. The futility of wealth. Don't be surprised if you see poor person being oppressed by a powerful, and if justice being miscarried through. And land. For every official under the order of a higher up, the matter of justice get lost in red tape and bureaucracy. Even the king milks the land for his own profit. Those who love money will never have enough. How meaningless to think that wealth brings true happiness. The more you have, the more people come to help you spend it. So what good is wealth except perhaps to watch it slip through your fingers? People who work hard sleep well, whether they eat little or much, but rich seldom gets good night's sleep. There is another serious problem I have seen under the sun. Hoarding riches harms the saver. Money is put into risky investments and turns sour, and everything is lost. In the end, there is nothing left to pass on to one's children. We all come to an end of our lives as naked and empty handed as one day we were born. We can't take riches with us, and this too is very serious problem. People leave this world no better off than when they came. All their hard work is for nothing. Like working in the wind, throughout their lives they live under the cloud, frustrated, discouraged, and angry. Even so, I have noticed one thing. At least that is good. It is good for people to eat, drink, and enjoy their work under the sun during their short life God has given them, and to accept their lot in life. And it is good thing to receive wealth from God and good health to enjoy it. To enjoy your work and accept your lot in this life. This is indeed a gift from God. God keeps such people so busy enjoying life that they take no time to brood over the past. Ecclesiastes chapter 6. There is another serious tragedy that I have seen under the sun, and it weighs heavily on humanity. God gives some people great wealth and honor and everything they could ever want. But then He doesn't give them the chance to enjoy these things. They die, and someone else, even a stranger, ends up enjoying their wealth. This is meaningless, a sickening tragedy. A man might have 100 children and live to be very old, but if he finds no satisfaction in life and doesn't even get to get a decent burial, it would have been better for him to be born dead. His birth would have been meaningless, and he would have ended in darkness. He couldn't even have to had the name, and he would never have seen the sun or known of his existence. Yet he would have more peace than in growing up to be an unhappy man. He might live 1,000 years twice over, but still not find contentment, and since he must die like everyone else, well, what's the use? All the people spend their lives scratching for food, but they never seem to have enough. So are the wise people really better off than fools? Do poor people gain anything by being wise and knowing how much act in front of others? Enjoy what you have rather than desiring what you don't have. Just dreaming about nice things is meaningless, like chasing the wind. The future determined the unknown. Everything has already been decided. It was known long ago that each person would be. So there is no use arguing with God about your destiny. The more words you speak, the less they mean. So what good are they? In few days of our meaningless lives, who knows how our days can best be spent? Our lives are like shadow. Who can tell what will happen on this earth after we are gone? Ecclesiastes chapter 7. Wisdom for life. A good reputation is more valuable than costly perfume. And the day you die is better than the day you were born. Better to spend your time at funerals than at parties. After all, everyone dies. So the living should take this to heart. Sorrow is better than laughter, for sadness has a refining influence on us. A wise person thinks a lot about death, while a fool thinks only about having good time. Better to be criticized by a wise person than to be praised by a fool. A fool's laughter is quickly gone, like thorns cracking in a fire. these also is meaningless. Extortion turns wise people into fools, and bribes corrupts the heart. Finishing is better than starting. Patience is better than pride. Control your temper, for anger rebels you a fool. Don't long for the good old days. That is not wise. Wisdom is better when you have money. Both are benefit when you go through life. Wisdom and money can get you almost anything, but only wisdom can save life. Accept the way God does things, for who can straighten what He has made crooked? Enjoy prosperity while you can, but when hard time strikes, realize that both come from God. Remember that noticing is certain in this life. Limits of human wisdom. If I have seen everything in this meaningless life, including the death of good young people, and then how long life of wicked people. So don't be too proud, too wise. Why destroy yourself on the other hand, and don't be too wicked either. Don't be fool. Why die before your time? Pay attention to these instructions, for anyone who fears God will avoid both extremes. One wise person is stronger than 10 leading citizens of a town. Not a single person on earth is always good and never sins. Don't eavesdrop on others. You may hear your servant curse you, for you know how often you yourself have cursed others. I have always tried my best to let wisdom guide my thoughts and actions. I said to myself, I am determined to be wise, but I don't work. Wisdom is always distant and difficult to find. I searched everywhere, determined to find wisdom and to understand the reason for things. I was determined to prove to myself the wickedness is stupid and the foolishness is madness. I discovered that seductive woman is a trap better than death. Her passion is a snare, and her soft hand are chains. Those who pleasing to God will escape her, but sinners will be caught in her snare. This is my conclusion, says the teacher. I discovered after this, looking at the matter from every possible angle. Though I have searched repeatedly, I have not found what was looking for. Only one out of 1,000 men is virtuous, but not one woman. But I find this: God created people to be virtuous, but they have each turned to follow their own down path. Ecclesiastes chapter 8. How wonderful to be wise, to analyze and interpret things. Wisdom lights up a person's face, softening its harshness. Obedience to a king. Obey the king, since you vow to God that you would. Don't try to avoid doing your duty, and don't stand with those who plot evil. For the king can do whatever he wants. His command is backed by great power. No one can resist or question it. Those who obey him will not be punished. Those who are wise will find a time and way to do what is right. For there is a time and a way for everything, even when a person is in trouble. Indeed, how can people avoid what they don't know is going to happen? None of us can hold back our spirit from departing. None of us has the power to prevent the day of our death. There is no escaping that obligation, that darkness battle. And in the face of death, wickedness will certainly not rescue the wicked. The wicked and the righteous. I have thought deeply about all that goes on here under the sun, where people have the power to hurt each other. I have seen wicked people buried with honor, yet they were very close, he frequented the temple and are now praised. In the same city, where they committed these crimes. This too is meaningless. When a crime is not punished quickly, people feel it is safe to do wrong. But even though a person sins 100 times and still lives a long time, I know that those who fear God will be better off. The wicked will not prosper, for they do not fear God. Their days will never grow long like the evening shadows. And this is not all that is meaningless in the world. In this life, good people are often treated as though they were wicked, and wicked people are often treated as though they were good. This is so meaningless. So I recommend having fun because there is nothing better for people in this world than to eat, drink, and enjoy life. That, that way they will experience some happiness along with all the hard work God gives them under the sun. In my search for wisdom and in my observation of people's burden on earth, I discovered that there are ceaseless activity day and night. I realized that no one can discover everything God is doing under the sun. Not even the wisest person discover everything, no matter what they claim. Ecclesiastes chapter 9. Death comes to all. This is too, I carefully explored. Even though the actions of godly and wise people are in God's hand, no one knows whether God will show them favor. The same destiny ultimately awaits everyone, whether righteous or wicked, good or bad, ceremonially clean or unclean, religious or irreligious. Good people receive the same treatment as sinners, and people who make praises to God are treated like people who don't. It seems so wrong that everything under the sun suffers the same fate, already twisted by evil people. Choose like own mad course, for they have no hope. There is nothing ahead but death, anyways. There is a hope only for the living. But as they say, it's better to live dog than a dead lion. The living at least knows they will die, but the dead knows nothing. They have no further reward, nor are they remembered, whether they did in this lifetime, loving, hating, envying, and is long gone. There are no longer play a part in anything here on earth. So go ahead, eat your food with joy, and drink your wine with a happy heart, for God approves of this. Wear fine clothes with splash of cologne. Live happily with the woman who you love through all these meaningless days of life that God has given you under the sun. The wife God gives you is your reward for all your earthly toil. Whatever you do, do well, for when you go to the grave, there will be no work of planning or knowledge or wisdom. I have observed everything else under the sun. The fastest runner doesn't always win the race, and the strongest warrior doesn't always win the battle. The wise sometimes go hungry, and the skillful are not necessarily wealthy. And those who are educated don't always lead successful lives. It is all decided by chance, by being in the right place at the right time. People can never predict when hard times might come. Like a fish in a net or a bird in a trap, people are caught by sudden tragedy. Thoughts of wisdom and folly. Here is another bit of wisdom that has impressed me, and I have watched the way our world works. There was a small town with only few people, and a great king came with his army and besieged it. A poor wise man knew how to save the town, so it was reduced. But afterwards, no one thought to thank him. To even through wisdom, it is better than strength. Those who are wise will be despised if they are poor. What they will say will not be appreciated as long. Better to hear a quiet word of a wise person than the shout of a foolish king. Better to have wisdom than weapon of war, but no sinner can destroy much that is good. Ecclesiastes chapter 10. As a dead flies cause even a bottle of perfume to stink, so a little foolishness spoils great wisdom and honor. A wise person chooses the right road, a fool takes a wrong one. You can identify fools just by the way they walk down the street. If your boss is angry at you, don't quit. A quiet spirit can overcome even great mistakes. The ironies of life. There is another evil I have seen under the sun. Kings and rulers make grave mistakes. Even they get great authority to foolish people and low positions of people of proven worth. I have seen several riding horsebacks like princes and princes walking like servants. When you dig a well, you might fall in it. When you demolish an old wall, you could be bitten by a snake. When you work in a quarry, stones might fall and crush you. When you chop a wood, there is a danger each stroke of your axe. Using a dull axe requires great strength, so sharpen the blade. That's the virtue of wisdom. It helps you succeed. If a snake bites before you charm it, what's the use of being a snake charmer? Wise words brings approval, but fools are destroyed by their own words. Fools base their thoughts on foolish assumptions, so their conclusions will be wicked madness. They chatter on and on. No one really knows what is going to happen. No one can predict the future. Fools are so exhausted by a little work, but they don't even find their way home. What sorrow for the land ruled by a servant, the land whose leader feasts in the morning. Happy is the land whose king is a noble leader, and whose leader feasts at the proper time. To gain strength for their work, not to get drunk. Laziness leads to sagging roof. Idleness leads to leaky house. A party gives laughter. Wine gives happiness. And money gives everything. Never make light of a king, even in your thoughts. And don't make fun of the powerful, even in your own bedroom. For a little bird might deliver your message and tell them what you said. Ecclesiastes chapter 11. The uncertainties of life. Send your grain across the seas, and in time, profit will flow back. But divide your investment among many places, for you do not know what risk might lie ahead. When clouds are heavy, the rains come down. Whether the tree falls north or south, it stays where it falls. Farmers who wait for perfect weather never plant. If they watch every cloud, they never harvest. Just as you cannot understand the path of the wind and the mystery of tiny baby growing in the womb, you cannot understand the activity of God who does all things. Plant your seed in the morning and keep busy all afternoon, for you don't know if profit will come, activity or another, or maybe both. Advice for young and old. Light is sweet. How pleasant to see a new day dawning. When people live to be very old, let them rejoice in every day of life. Let them also remember be many dark days. Everything still to come is meaningless. Young people, it's wonderful to be young. Enjoy life every minute of it. Do everything you want to do. Take it all in, but remember that you must give account to God for everything you do. So refuse to worry and keep your body healthy. But remember that youth with a whole life before you is meaningless. Ecclesiastes chapter 12. Don't let excitement of youth cause you to forget your Creator. Honor Him in your youth before you grow old and say, life is not pleasant anymore. Remember Him before the light of the sun, moon, and the stars is dim to your old eyes. The rain, clouds continually darkens your sky. Remember Him before your legs and guards of your house start to tremble before your shoulders. The strong men stop, stoop. Remember Him before your teeth. Your few remaining servants stop grinding. Before your eyes, the woman looking through the windows see dimly. Remember Him before the door of life opportunities is closed and the sounds of work fades. Now you rise at the first chirp of the bird, but then all their sounds will grow faint. Remember Him before the doors of life's opportunity is closed and the sounds of work fades. Now you rise in the first chirp of the bird, but then all sound will grow faint. Remember Him before you fearful of falling and worry about danger in the streets, before your hair turns white like an almond tree in bloom, and you drag among without energy like a drying grasshopper, and a caperberry no longer inspire sexual desires. Remember Him before you hear the grave, your everlasting home, when the mourners will weep at your funeral. Yes, remember your Creator now, while you are young, before the silver cord of life snaps and the golden bows is broken. Don't wait until the water jar is smashed and the spring and the pulley is broken at the well. For then the dust will return to the earth and the spirit will return to God who gave it. Concluding thoughts about the teacher. Everything is meaningless, says the teacher. Completely meaningless. Keep in mind, the teacher was considered wise and he had taught the people everything he knew. He listened carefully to many proverbs, studying and classifying them. The teacher sought to find justice, the right word to express truths clearly. The words of the wise, like cattle prods, painful but helpful. They collected saying all like nail-studded stick which a shepherd drives his sheep. But my child, let me give you some further advice. Be careful, for writing books in endless and much study wears you out. That's the whole story. Here now is my final conclusion. Fear God and obey His commands, for this is everyone's duty. God will judge us for everything we do, including every secret thing, whether good or bad. This is Solomon's Songs of Song, more wonderful than any other. Young woman, kiss me and kiss me again, for your love is sweeter than wine. How pleasing is your fragrance! Your name is like spreading fragrance of scented oil. No wonder all the young women love you. Take me with your, come, let's run. The king has brought me into his bedroom. Young woman of Jerusalem, how happy we are for you, O king. We praise your love even more than wine. Young woman, how right they are to adore you. I am dark but beautiful, O woman of Jerusalem, dark as a tent of cedar, dark as a curtain of Solomon's tent. Don't stare at me because I am dark. The sun has darkened my skin. My brother were angry with me. They forced me to care for their vineyard, so I didn't care for myself, my own vineyard. Tell me, my love, When are you leading your flocks today? Where will you rest your sheep at noon? For why should I wander like a prostitute among your friends and their flocks, young man? If you don't know, O most beautiful woman, follow the trail of my flock and gaze your young goats by the shepherd's tent. You are as exciting, my darling, as a mere young Pharaoh's stallions. How lovely are your cheeks, your earrings set them afire. How lovely is your neck, enhanced by the string of gold. We will make your earrings of gold and braids of silver. Young woman, a king is lying on his couch, enchanted by the fragrance of my perfume. My lover is like a sachet of myrrh lying between my breasts. He is like a banquet of sweet henna, blossom from the vineyard of Engedi. Young man, how beautiful you are, my darling, how beautiful. Your eyes is like doves. Young woman, you are handsome. My love, pleasing beyond words, the soft grass is our bed. Fragrant cedar branches are the beams of our house, and pleasant smelling fairs are the rafters. Song of Solomon, chapter 2. Young woman, I am the spring crocus blooming in the Sharon's plain, the lily of the valley. Young woman, like a lily among thistles, is my darling among young women. Young woman, like the finest apple tree in the orchard of my lover among the young men, I sit in his delightful shade, taste his delicious fruit. He escorts me to the banquet hall. It's obvious how much he loves me. Strengthens me with raisin cakes. Refreshes me with apples, for I am weak with love. His left arm is under my head, and his right arm embraces me. Promise me, O women of Jerusalem, for the gazelles and the wild deers, not to awaken love until the time is right. Ah, I hear my lover's coming. He is leaping over mountains, bounding over the hills. My lover is like a swift gazelle, a young stag. Look, he is behind the wall. Look through the windows, peering into the room. My lover said to me, Rise up, my darling. Come away with me, my fair one. Look, the winter is past, and the rains are over and gone. The flowers of spring's up, the seasons of singing birds has come, and the cuckooing and the turtle doves fill the air. The fig trees are forming young fruits, and the fragrant grapevines are blossoming. Rise up, my darling, come away with me, my fair one. Young man, my dove is hiding behind the rocks, behind the outcrop of the cliff. Let me see your face. Let me hear your voice. For your voice is pleasant and your face is lovely. Young woman of Jerusalem, catch all the foxes, those little foxes, before they run, ruin the vineyard of love, for the grapevines are blossoming. My lover is mine, and I am his. He browses among the lilies, before the dawn breezes blow, and the night shadow flees. Return to me, my love, like a gazelle, a young stag on the rugged mountain. Song of Solomon, chapter 3. One night as I lay in bed, I yearned for my lover. I yearned for him, for he did not come. So I said to myself, I will get up and roam the city, searching in all its streets and squares. I will search for the one I love. I searched everywhere, but I did not find him. The watchman stopped me, and they made their rounds, and I asked, Have you seen the one I love? Then scarcely had I left him. When I found my love, I caught and I held him tightly. Then I brought him to my mother's house, into my mother's bed where I had been conceived. Promise me, O woman of Jerusalem, by the gazelles and the wild deers, not to awaken love until the time is right. Who is sweeping in from the wilderness like a cloud of smoke? Who is it fragrant with myrrh and frankincense and every kind of spice? Look, it is Solomon's carriage, surrounded by 60 heroic men, the best of Israel's soldiers. They are all skilled swordsmen, experienced warriors. Each wears a sword on his thigh, ready to defend the kings against any attack in the night. King Solomon's carriage is built of wood, imported from Lebanon. Its posts are silver, its canopy gold, its cushions are purple. It was decorated with love by the young woman of Jerusalem. Come out to see King Solomon, young woman of Jerusalem. He wears the crown his mother gave him on his wedding day, the most joyous day. Song of Solomon, chapter 4. You are beautiful, my darling, beautiful beyond words. Your eyes are like doves behind your veil. Your hair is fallen in waves, like a flock of goats winding down the slopes of Gilead. Your teeth are as white as sheep, recently shorn and freshly washed. Your smile is flawless, each tooth matched with its twin. Your lips are like scarlet ribbon. Your mouth is inviting. Your cheeks are like rosy pomegranates behind your veil. Your neck is as beautiful as the Tower of David, jeweled with the shields of 1,000 heroes. Your breasts are like two fawns, twin fawns of a gazelle gazing among the lilies. Before the dawn breezes blow and the night shadow flees, I will hurry into the mountains of myrrh and to the hills of frankincense. You are altogether beautiful, my darling, beautiful in every way. Come in with me from Lebanon, my bride. Come with me from Lebanon. Come down from Mount Amna, from the peaks of Sinner and Hermon, where the lions have their dens and the leopards live among the hills. You have captured my heart, my treasures, my bride. You hold it hostage with one glance of your eyes, with a single jewel of your necklace. Your love delights me, my treasure, my bride. Your love is better than wine. Your perfume, more fragrant than spices. Your lips are as sweet as nectar, my bride. Honey and milk are under your tongue. Your clothes are scented like the cedar of Lebanon. You are my private garden, my treasure, my bride. My secluded spring, a high fountain, a hidden fountain. Your thighs shelter the paradise of a pomegranate with rare spices, henna with nard and saffron, fragrant calamus and cinnamon, with all the trees of frankincense, myrrh and aloes, and every other lovely spice. You are the garden fountain, a veil of fresh water streaming down from Lebanon mountains. Awaken, north wind, rise up, south wind, blown on my garden, and spread its fragrance all around. Come into your garden, my love, taste the finest fruit. Song of Solomon, chapter 5. I have entered my garden, my pleasure, my bride. I gathered myrrh with my spices, and eaten honeycomb with my honey. I drink wine with my milk. O lover and beloved, eat and drink. Yes, drink deeply of your love. I slept, but my heart was awakened when I heard my lover knocking and calling. Open to me, my treasure, my darling, my dove, my perfect one. My head is drenched with dew, my hair with the dampened of the night. But I responded, I have taken off my robe. Should I get dressed again? I have washed my feet. Should I get them soiled? My lover tried to unlatch the door, and my heart thrilled within me. I jumped up and opened the door of my love, and my hands dripped with perfume. My fingers dripped with lovely myrrh, and I pulled back the bolt. I opened to my lover, but he was gone. My heart sank. I searched for him, but I couldn't find him anywhere. I called him, but there was no reply. The night watchmen found me, and they made their rounds. The best, they beat and bruised me, and stripped off my veil. Those watchmen on the walls make a promise, O woman of Jerusalem. If you find my lover, tell him I am weak with love. Why is your lover better than all others, O woman of rare beauty? What makes your lover so special that we must promise this? My lover is dark and dazzling, better than 10,000 others. He heads his finest gold. His very hair is black as a raven, his eyes sparkling like dove, beside springs of water. All these are set like jewels, washed in milk. His cheeks are like gardens of spices, given off fragrances. His lips are like lilies, perfumed with myrrh. His arms are like rounded bars of gold, set with beryl. His body is like bright ivory, glowing with lapis lazuli. His legs are like marble pillars, set in sockets of finest gold. His posture is stately. He is noble like a noble cedar of Lebanon. His mouth is sweetness itself. He is desirable in every way. Such, O woman of Jerusalem, is my lover, my friend. Song of Solomon, chapter 6. Where has your lover gone, O woman of rare beauty? Which way did he turn, so we can help you find him? My lover has gone down to his garden, to his spice bed, to browse in the gardens and gather the lilies. I am my lover's, and my lover's is mine. He browses among the lilies. You are a beautiful, my darling, like a lovely city of Israel. Yes, as beautiful as Jerusalem, a majestic and as army of boiling banners. Turn your eyes away, for they are overpowered me. Your hair falls in waves like a flock of goat, winding down the slopes of Gilead. Your teeth are white as sheep and freshly washed. Your smile is flawless, each teeth matched with its twin. Your cheek is like rosy pomegranates behind the veil. Every among 16 queens and 80 concubines, a countless young women, I would still choose my dove, my perfect one, the favorite of her mother, dearly loved by one who bore me. A young woman sees her and praises her. Even queens of royal concubines sing her praise. Who is this, arising like the dawn, as fair as the moon, as bright as the sun, a majestic as an army of glowing banners? I went down to the grove of walnut trees, and out of the valley to see the spring grow, to see whether the grapevines have budded, or the pomegranates were in blossom. Before I realized it, my strong desire has taken me to the chariots of a noble man. Return, return to us, O maid of Shalom. Come back, that we may see you again. Why do you stare at this young woman of Shalom as they moves so gracefully between the two lines of dancers? Song of Solomon, chapter 7. How beautiful are your sandaled feet, O queen maiden. Your rounded thighs are like jewels, the work of your skilled craftsmen. Your navel is perfectly formed, like a goblet fillet with mixed wine. Between your thighs lies the mold of wheat bored with lilies. Your breasts are like two fawns of gazelle. Your neck is beautiful as an ivory tower. Your eyes are like sparkling pools of Heshbon. By the gates of Bath Rabbim, your nose is as fine as a tower of Lebanon, overlooking Damascus. Your head is as majestic as Mount Carmel, and the sheen of your hair radiates royalty. The king has held captive by its tresses. Oh, how beautiful are you! How pleasing, my love! How full of delight! You are slanderous like a palm tree, and your breasts are like clusters of fruit. I said, I will climb the palm tree. I will take hold of its fruits. May your breast be like grape clusters, and the fragrance of your breath like apple. May your kisses be as exciting as the best wine. Yes, wine that goes down smoothly for my lover, flowing gently over lips and teeth. And I am my lover's, and he claims to be his own. Come, my love, let us go out to the fields and spend the night among the wildflowers. Let us get up early and go up to the vineyards to see the grape vines have budded. If its blossoms have opened and the pomegranates have blossomed, then I will give you my love. There are mandrakes gives off their fragrance. The finest fruit are at your door, new delights as well as old, which I have saved for you, my lover. Song of Solomon, chapter 8. Oh, I wish you were my brother, who nursed at my mother's breast. Then I could kiss you no matter who was watching, and no one would criticize me. I would bring you to my childhood home, and there you would teach me. I would give you spiced wine to drink, my sweet pomegranate wine. Your left arm would be under my head, and your right arm would embrace me. Promise me, O woman of Jerusalem, not to awaken love until time is right. Who is sleeping in the desert, leaning on her lover? I aroused you under the apple tree, where your mother gave you birth, even where in great pain she delivered you. Place me like a seal over your heart, like a seal on your arm, for love is as strong as death. Its jealousy as enduring as the grave. Love flashes like a fire and the brightest kind of flame. Many waters cannot quench love, nor can rivers drown it. If a man tried to buy love with all his wealth, his offer wouldn't be untruly scorned. We have a little sister, too young to have breasts. If someone asks her to marry her, she is a virgin. Like a wall, we will protect her with silver tower. But if she is promiscuous, like a swinging door, we'll block the door with cedar bar. I was a virgin like a wall. Now my breasts are like towers. When my lovers look at me, he is delighted with what he sees. Solomon has a vineyard at Baal Hamon, which he leaves out for tenant farmers. Each of them pays 1,000 pieces of silver for harvesting its fruits. But my vineyard is mine to give, and Solomon need not pay 1,000 pieces of silver, but I give 200 pieces to those who care for its wine. O my darling, lingering in the garden, your companions are fortunate to hear your voice. Let me hear it too. Come away, my love, be like a gazelle or a young stag on the Mount of Spices. Isaiah chapter 1. These are the visions that Isaiah son of Amos saw concerning Judah and Jerusalem. He saw these visions during the years of Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah, for the kings of Judah. Listen, O heavens, pay attention, earth. This is what the Lord says. The children I raised and cared for have rebelled against me. Even an ox knows its owner, and a donkey recognizes its master's care. But Israel doesn't know its master. My people don't recognize my care for them. Oh, what a sinful nation they are, loaded down with the burden of guilt. They are evil people, corrupt children who has rejected the Lord. They have despised the Holy One of Israel and turned their backs on him. Why do you continue to invite punishment? Must you rebel forever? Your head is injured and your heart is sick. You are battered from head to foot, covered with bruises, welts, and infected wounds. Without any soothing ointment and bandages, your country lies in ruins and your towns are buried, burned. Foreigners plunder your field before your eyes and destroy everything they see. Beautiful Jerusalem stands abandoned like a watchman's shelter in a vineyard, like a lean into a cucumber field after the harvest, like a helpless city under siege. If the Lord of Heaven's army had not spared a few of us, we wouldn't have been wiped out like Sodom, destroyed like Gomorrah. Listen to the Lord, you leaders of Sodom. Listen to the law of our God, people of Gomorrah. What makes you think I want all your sacrifices, says the Lord? I am sick of your burnt offering of rams and the fat of the fatted cattle. I get no pleasure from the blood of bulls and the lambs and the goats. When you come to worship me, who ask to parade through my courts with all your ceremony. Stop bringing me your meaningless gifts. The incenses of your offering disgusts me. As for your celebrations of new moon and the Sabbath and your special days of fasting, they are all sinful and false. I want no more of your pious meetings. I hate your new moon celebrations and your annual festivals. They are a burden to me. I cannot stand them. When you lift up your hands in prayer, I will not look. Though you offer many prayers, I will not listen. For your hands have covered with the blood of innocent victims. Wash yourselves and be clean. Get your sins out of my sight. Give up your evil ways. Lean to do good. Seek justice. Help the oppressed. Defend the cause of orphans. Fight for the rights of widows. Come now, let's settle this, says the Lord. Though your sins are like scarlet, I will make them white as snow. Though they are like red crimson, I will make them white as wool. If you will only obey me, you will have plenty to eat. But if you turn away and refuse to listen, you will be devoured by the sword of your enemies. I, the Lord, have spoken. See how Jerusalem, once so faithful, has become a prostitute. Once a home of justice and righteousness, she is now filled with murderers. Once like pure silver, you have become like worthless slag. Once so pure, you are now like watered down wine. Your leaders are rebels and companions of thieves. All of them love bribes and demand payoffs, but they refuse to defend the cause of the orphans or fight for the rights of widows. Therefore, the Lord of Heaven's army, the mighty one of Israel says, I will take revenge on my enemies and pay back my foes. I will raise my fist against you. I will melt you down and skin off your slag. I will remove all your impurities. Then I will give you a good judge again. And wise counselors like you used to have. Then Jerusalem will again be called the home of justice and the faithful city. Zion will be restored by justice. Those who repent will be revived by righteousness. But rebels and sinners will be completely destroyed. And those who desert the Lord will be consumed. You will be ashamed of your idol worship. In groves of sacred oaks, you will blush because you worship in gardens dedicated to idols. You will be like the great tree with withered leaf, like a garden without water. The strongest among you will disappear like straw. Their evil deeds will be spark that set it on fire, and their evil works will burn together, and no one will be able to put out the fire. Isaiah chapter 2. This is a vision that Isaiah son of Amos saw concerning Judah and Jerusalem. In the last days, the mountain of the Lord's house will be highest of all, the most important place on earth. It will be raised above the other hills, and the people all over the world will stream there to worship. People from many nations will come and say, "Come, let us go up to Jerusalem, the mountain of the Lord, to the house of Jacob's God. There he will teach us his ways, and we will walk in his path. For the Lord's teaching will go out from Zion. His words will go out from Jerusalem. The Lord will mediate between nations and will settle international disputes. They will hammer their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nations will no longer fight against nation, nor train for war anymore. Come, descendants of Jacob, let us walk into the light of the Lord. For the Lord has rejected his people and descendants of Jacob, because they have filled their land with practice from the east, and from sorcerers as the Philistines do. They have made alliances with pagans. Israel is full with silver and gold, and there is no end to its treasure. The land is full with war horses. There is no end to its chariots. The land is full with idols. The people worship things they have made with their own hands. So now they will be humbled, and all will be brought low. Do not forgive them. Crawl into caves in the rocks. Hide in the dust from the terror of the Lord and the glory of his majesty. Human pride will be brought down, and human arrogance will be humbled. Only the Lord will be exalted on the day of judgment. For the Lord of heaven's army has a day of reckoning. He will punish the proud and mighty and bring down everything that is exalted. He will cut down the tall cedars of Lebanon and all the mighty oaks of Bashan. He will level the high mountains and all the lofty hills. He will break down every high tower and every fortified wall. He will destroy the greatest trading ships and every magnificent vessel. Human pride will be humbled, and human arrogance will be brought down. Only the Lord will be exalted on the day of judgment. Idols will completely disappear. When the Lord raises and shakes the earth, his enemies will crawl into holes in the ground. They will hide in the caves and the rocks from the terror of the Lord and the glory of his majesty. On that day of judgment, they will abandon the gold and silver idols they made for themselves to worship. They will leave their gods to the rodents and the bats, while they crawl away into the cravens and hide among the jagged rocks in the cliffs. They will try to escape the terror of the Lord and the glory of his majesty. And he will rise to shake the earth. But don't put your trust in mere humans. Don't put your trust in mere humans. They are frail as breath, and what good they do. Isaiah chapter 3. The Lord of heaven's army will take away from Jerusalem and Judah everything they depend on. Every bit of bread and every drop of water. All the heroes and soldiers, judges and prophets, fortune tellers and elders, army officers and high officials, advisors, skilled sorcerers and astrologers. I will make boys their leaders and toddlers their rulers. People will oppress each other, men against men, neighbor against neighbor. Young people will insult their elders, and vulgar people will sneer at the honorable. In those days, a man will say to his brother, "Since you have a coat, you be our leader. Take charge of the heap of ruins." But he will reply, "No, I can't help. I don't have extra food or clothes. Don't put me in charge, for Jerusalem will stumble and Judah will fall, because they speak out against the God, Lord, and refuse to obey him. They provoke him to his face. The very look on their faces gives them away. They display like sin, like people of Sodom. They don't even try to hide it. They are doomed. They have brought destruction upon themselves. Tell the godly that all will be well for them. They will enjoy rich reward they have earned, but the wicked are doomed, for they will get exactly what they deserve. Childish leaders oppress my people, and women rule over them. O my people, your leaders misled you and sent you down the wrong road. The Lord takes his place in court and presents the case against his people. The Lord comes forward, pronounce judgment on the elders and rulers of his people. You have ruined Israel, my vineyard. Your houses are filled with the things stolen from the poor. How dare you crush my people, grinding their face of the poor into the dust, demands the Lord, the God of heaven armies. Warning to Jerusalem. The Lord says, beautiful Zion is haughty, canning and elegant, and her elegant neck, flirting her with her eyes, walking with dainty steps, tingling her ankles bracelet. So the Lord will send scabs on her head. The Lord will make beautiful Zion bald. On the day of judgment, the Lord will strip away everything that makes her beautiful. Ornaments, headbands, crescent necklaces, earrings, bracelets and veils, scarves, ankle bracelet, sashes, perfumes and charms, rings, jewelries, party clothes, gowns, capes and purses, mirrors, fine linen garments, head ornaments and shawl. Instead of smelling of sweet perfume, she will stink. She will wear a rope of sash, and her elegant hair will fall out. She will wear ruff and burlap instead of rich robes. Shame will be replaced her beauty. A man of the city will be killed with his sword, and her warriors will die in battle. The gates of Zion will weep and mourn, and the city will be like a raped woman hurdled on the ground. Isaiah chapter 4. In that day, so few men will be left that 7 women will fight for each man, saying, let us all marry you. We will provide our own food and clothing. Only let us take your name so we won't be mocked as old maids. In that day, the branch of the Lord will be beautiful and glorious. The fruit of the land will be the pride and glory of all who survive in Israel. All who remain in Zion will be holy people, those who survive the destruction of Jerusalem and are recorded among the living. The Lord will wash the filth from beautiful Zion and cleanse Jerusalem of its blood stains. And with the hot breath of fiery judgment, then the Lord will provide shade to Mount Zion and all who assembles there. He will provide a canopy of cloud during the day, and smoke and flaring fire at night, covering the glorious land. It will be a shelter for the daytime heat and hiding place from the storm and rain. Isaiah chapter 5. Now I will sing for the one I love, a song about his vineyard. My beloved had a vineyard on a rich and a fertile hill. He plowed the land, cleared its stones, and planted it with the best wine. In the middle he built a watchtower and paved a winepress in the nearby rocks. Then he waited for the harvest of sweet grapes, but the grapes that grew were bitter. Now, you people of Jerusalem and Judah, you judge between me and my vineyard. What more could I have done for my vineyard that I have not already done? When I expected sweet grapes, why did my vineyard give me bitter grapes? Now let me tell you. What will I do to my vineyard? I will tear down its hedges and let it be destroyed. I will break down its walls and let the animals trample it. I will make it a wild place where the vines are not pruned and the ground is not hoed, a, a place overgrown with brisses and thorns. I will command the clouds to drop no rain on it. The nations of Israel, the nation of Israel is the vineyard of the Lord of heaven's army. The people of Judah are his pleasant garden. He expects the crop of justice, but instead he found oppression. He expected to find righteousness, but instead he heard cries of violence. What sorrow for you who buy up houses after houses and fields after fields until everyone is evicted and you live alone in the land. But I have heard the Lord of heaven's army swear a solemn oath. Many houses will stand deserted. Even beautiful mansions will be empty. 10 acres of vineyard will no longer produce even 6 gallons of wine. 10 baskets of seed will yield only 1 basket of grain. What sorrow for those who get up early in the morning looking for a drink of alcohol and spend long evenings drinking wine and make themselves flaming drunk. They furnish wine and lovely music at their grand parties, lyre and harp, tambourine and flute, but they never think about the Lord or notice what He is doing. So my people will go into exile for far away because they do not know me. Those who are great and honored will starve, and the common people will die of thirst. The grave is licking its lips in anticipation, opening its mouth wide. The great and the lowly and all the drunken mob will be swallowed up. Humanity will be destroyed and the people brought down. Even the arrogant will lower their eyes in humiliation. But Lord of heaven's army will be exalted in justice, with his justice. The holiness of the Lord will be displayed by his righteousness. In that day, lambs will find good pastures, and fatted sheep and young goats will feed among the ruins. What sorrow for those who drag their sins behind them with ropes made of lies, who drag wickedness behind like a cart, even mock God and say, hurry up and do something. He wants to see what you have, what you can do. Let the Holy One of Israel carry out his plan, for we want to know what it is. What sorrow for those who say that evil is good and good is evil, that dark is light and light is dark, that bitter is sweet and sweet is bitter. What sorrow for those who are wise in their own eyes and think themselves so clever. What sorrow for those who are heroes at drinking wine and boast about all alcohol they can hold. They take bribes and let the wicked go free, and they punish the innocent. Therefore, just as fire licks up stubble and dry glass shrivels in the frame, so their roots will rot and their flowers wither. For they have rejected the law of the Lord of heaven's army, and they have despised the word of the Holy One of Israel. That is why the Lord's anger burns against his people, and why he has raised his fist to crush them. The mountains tremble, and the corpse of the people litter in the streets like garbage. But even then the Lord's anger is not satisfied. His fist is still poised to strike. He will send signal to distant nation far away. His whistle to those who to the ends of the earth. He will continue racing towards Jerusalem. They will not get tired or stumble. They will not stop or rest or sleep. Not a belt will be loosened, not a sandal strap broken. Their arrows will be sharp, and their bows ready to battle. Sparks will fly from their horses' hooves, and the heels of a chariots will spin like a whirlwind. They will roar like lions, like the strongest of the lions growling. They will be pouncing on their victims and carrying them off. No one will be there to rescue them. They will roar over their victims on the day of destruction, like the roaring of the sea. If someone looks across the land, only darkness and distress will be seen, even the light of the darkened by the clouds. Isaiah chapter 6. It was in the year King Uzziah died, and I saw the Lord. He was sitting on a lofty throne, and the train of his robes filled the temple. Attending him were mighty seraphim. each having 6 wings. With 2 wings they covered their face, with 2 they covered their feet, and with 2 they flew. They were calling out to each other, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of heaven's army. The whole earth is filled with his glory. Their voices shook the temple to its foundation, and the entire building was filled with smoke. Then I said, It's all over. I am doomed, for I am a sinful man. I have filthy lips. I live among people with filthy lips. Yet I have seen the King, the Lord of heaven's army. Then one of the Sephirim flew to me with a burning charcoal he had taken from the altar. With a pair of tongs, he touched my lips, and with it he said, See, this coal has touched your lips. Now your guilt is removed, and your sins are forgiven. Then I heard the Lord asking, Whom shall I send as a messenger to this people? Who will go for us? I said, Here I am, send me. He said, Yes, go and say to this people, Listen carefully, but do not understand. Watch closely, but lean nothing. Harden the hearts of these people. Plumb their eyes and shut their eyes. Plumb their ears and shut their eyes. That way they will not see with their eyes, nor hear with their ears, nor understand with their hearts, and turn to me from healing. Then I said, Lord, how long this will go on? And he replied, Until their own town are empty, their houses are deserted, and the whole country is a wasteland, until the Lord has sent everyone away, and the entire land of Israel lies deserted. If even a tenth, a remnant survive, it will be invaded again and burned. But the terebinth or oak tree lives a stump, then it will cut down. So Israel's stump will be a holy seed. Isaiah chapter 7. When Ahaz, son of Jotham and grandson of Uzziah, was king of Judah, King Rezin of Syria, and Pekah, son of Remaliah, the king of Israel, sent out to attack Jerusalem. However, they were unable to carry out their plan. The news had come to the royal court of Judah. Syria is allied with Israel against us. So the hearts of the king of his people trembled with fear, like trees shaking in the storm. The Lord said to Isaiah, Take your son Shear-Jashub and go out to meet King Ahaz. You will find him at the end of the aqueduct that feeds water into the upper pool near the road leading to the field where cloth is washed. Tell him to stop worrying. Tell him he doesn't need to fear and fierce anger of those who burn down embers. King Rezin of Syria and Pereksin of Remaliah, yes, the king of Syria and Israel are plotting against him, saying, We will attack Judah and capture it for ourselves. Then we will install the sons of Tabeel as Judah's king. But this is what the sovereign Lord says. This invasion will never happen. It will never take place. For Syria is no stronger than the capital Damascus, and Damascus is no stronger than its king Rezin. As for Israel, within 65 years, it will be crushed and completely destroyed. Israel is no stronger than its capital Samaria, and Samaria is no stronger than its king Pekah, son of Remaliah. Unless your faith is firm, I cannot make you stand firm. Later the Lord sent this message to King Ahaz and asked the Lord, your God, for a sign of confirmation. Ahaz, make it difficult as you want, as high as heaven or as deep as the place of the dead. But the king refused. No, he said, I will not test the Lord like that. And Isaiah said, Listen well, you royal family of David, isn't it enough to exhaust human patience, but you exhaust the patience of my God as well? All right then, the Lord himself will give you a sign. Look, A virgin will conceive a child. She will give birth to a son and will call him Emmanuel, which means God is with us. By the time this child is old enough to choose what is right and reject what is wrong, he will be eating yogurt and honey. For before the child is that old, the land of the two kings you fear so much will both be deserted. Then the Lord will bring things on you, your nation and your family, unlike anything since Israel broke away from Judah. He will bring the king of Assyria upon you, and in that day the Lord will whistle for the army of southern Egypt and the army of Assyria. They will swarm around you like flies and bees. They will come in vast hordes and settle in the fertile areas and also in the desolate valley, caves, and thorny places. In that day, the Lord will hire a razor from beyond the Euphrates River and the king of Assyria and use it to shave off everything your land, your crops, and your people. In that day, the farmers will be fortunate to have cows and 2 sheep or goats left. Nevertheless, there will be enough milk for everyone because a few people will be left in the land. They will eat their fill of yogurt and honey. And in that day, the lush vineyard, now worth 1,000 pieces of silver, will become patches of briars and thorns. The entire land will become vast expanse of briars and thorns, a hurting ground overrun by wildlife. No one will go to the fertile hillside where the gardens once grew, for briars and thorns will cover them. Cattle, sheep, and goats will gaze there. Isaiah chapter 8. Then the Lord said to me, make a large signboard and clearly write this name on it, Mer-Shal-Hash-Baz. I asked Uriah, the priest of Zechariah, son of Jeberechiah, both known as honest man, to witness my doing this. Then I slept with my wife, and she became pregnant and gave birth to a son. And the Lord said, call him Mer-Shal-Hash-Baz. For before this child is old enough to say, Papa or Mama, the king of Assyria will carry away both the abundance of Damascus and the riches of Samaria. Then the Lord spoke to me again and said, My care for the people of Judah is like the gentle flowing waters of Shiloh, but they have rejected it. They were rejoicing over what will happen to the king Rezin and king Pekah. Therefore the Lord will overwhelm them with mighty flood from the Euphrates River, the king of Assyria and all his glory. This flood will overflow all its channel and sweep into Judah until its chin deep. It will spread its wing, submerging your land from one end to the other, O Emmanuel. Huddle together, your nation, and be terrified. Listen, all distant land. Prepare for battle, for you will be crushed. Yes, prepare for battle, for you will be crushed. Call your councils for war, but they will be worthless. Develop your strategies, but they will not succeed, for God is with us. The Lord has given me strong warning not to think like everyone else does. He said, don't call everything a conspiracy like they do. Don't even live in debt for what frightens them. Make the Lord of Heaven's army holy in your life. He is one of you should fear. He is the one should you make you tremble. He will keep you safe. But to Israel and Judah, he will be a stone that makes people stumble, a rock that makes them fall. And for the people of Jerusalem, he will be a trap and snare. Many will stumble and fall, never to rise again. They will be snared and captured. Preserve the teaching of God. Entrust his instruction to those who follow me. I will wait for the Lord, who had turned away from the descendants of Jacob. I will put my hope in him. I and the children the Lord has given me the Lord has given me service as sign and warning to Israel from the Lord of Heaven's army, who dwell in his temple on Mount Zion. Someone may say to you, let's ask the mediums and those who consult the spirits of the dead. With their whispering and muttering, they will tell us what to do. But shouldn't people of God ask God for guidance? Should the living seek guidance from the dead? Look to God's instructions and teaching. People who contradict His words are completely in the dark. They will go from one place to another weary and hungry. Because they are hungry, they will be raged and curse their kings and their God. They will look up to heavens and down to the earth, but whether they look, there will be trouble and anguish and dark despair. They will be thrown into darkness. Isaiah chapter 9. Nevertheless, the time of darkness and despair will not go on forever. The land of Zebulun, Naphtali will be humbled, but there will be a time in the future when Galilee of the Gentiles, which lies among the road that runs between Jordan and the sea, will be filled with glory. The people who walk in darkness will see great light. For those who live in the land of deep darkness, a light will shine. You will enlarge the nation of Israel, and its people will rejoice. They will rejoice before you as the people rejoice at the harvest. And like warriors dividing the plunder, you will break the yoke of their slavery and lift the heavy burden from their shoulders. You will break the oppressor's rod, just as you did when you destroyed the army of Midian. The boots of the warrior and the uniform bloodstained by war will be burned. They will be the fuel for the fire. As for a child is born to us, a son is given unto us, the government will rest on his shoulder, and he will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father and Prince of Peace. His government and its peace will never end. He will rule with fairness and justice from the throne of his ancestor David for all eternity. With passionate commitment of the Lord of Heaven's army will make this happen. The Lord has spoken out against Jacob. His judgment has fallen upon Israel, and the people of Israel and Samaria, who spoke with such pride and arrogance, will soon know it. They said, we will replace the broken bricks of our ruins with finished stone, and replant the fields, sycamore, fig trees, and cedar. But the Lord will bring Rezin's army against Israel, and stir up all their foes. The Syrians from the east and the Philistines from the west will bear their fangs and devour Israel. But even then the Lord's anger will not be satisfied. His fist is still poised to strike. For after all his punishment, the people will still not repent. They will still not seek the Lord of Heaven's army. Therefore, a single day, the Lord will destroy both the head and the tail, the noble palm branch and the lowly reed. The leaders of Israel are the head, and lying prophets are the tail. For the leaders of the people have misled them. They have led them down to the path of destruction. That is why the Lord takes no pleasure in the young men, and show no mercy even to the widows and the orphans, for they are wicked hypocrites, and they speak foolish. But even then the Lord's anger will not be satisfied. His fist is still poised to strike. With wickedness is like a bushfire. It burns not only the blizzards and the thorns, but also sets the forest ablaze. Its burning sends up the clouds of smoke, and the land will be blackened by the fury of the Lord of Heaven's army. The people will be fuel for the fire, and no one will spare even their own brother. They will attack their neighbor on the right, but will still be hungry. They will devour their neighbor on the left, but still not be satisfied. In the end, they will even eat their own children. Manasseh will feed on Ephraim, and Ephraim will feed on Manasseh, and both will devour Judah. But even then, the Lord's anger will not be satisfied. His fist will still poised to strike. Isaiah chapter 10. What sorrow awaits the unjust judges and those who issue unfair laws. They deprive the poor of justice and deny the rights of needy among my people. They prey on widows and take advantage of orphans. What will you do when I punish you? when I send disaster upon you from a distant land? To whom will you turn for help? Will there will will there be who will turn to whom will you turn for help? Where will your treasures be saved? You will stumble among as prisoners and lie among the dead. Even the Lord's anger will not be satisfied. His fist is still poised to strike. What sorrow awaits Assyria, the rod of my anger? I use it to express my anger. I send Assyria against the godless nation, against people with whom I am angry. Assyria will plunder them, trampling them like dirt beneath their feet. But the king of Assyria will not understand that he is my tool. His mind does not work that way. His plan is simple: to destroy, to cut down nation after nation. He will say, each of my princes will soon be a king. We destroyed Calno just as we did Karshemish. Hamath fell before us and Arpad did. And we destroyed Samaria just as we did Damascus. Yes, we have finished off many a kingdom whose gods were gathered than those in Jerusalem and Samaria. So we will defeat Jerusalem and her God, just as we destroyed Samaria with hers. After the Lord has used the king of Assyria to accomplish his purpose on Mount Zion, and in Jerusalem he will turn against the king of Assyria and punish them. For he is proud and arrogant, he boasts. Be my own powerful arm, I have done this. With my own shrewd wisdom I planned it. I have broken down the defense of nation and carried out their treasures. I have knocked down their kings like a bull. I have robbed their nests of riches and gathered up kingdoms for the farmers as a farmer gathers eggs. No one can flap a wing against me or utter a peep of protest. But can the ox boast greater power than the person who uses it? I saw greater than the person who saw. Can a rod strike unless a hand moves it? Can a wooden cane walk by itself? Therefore the Lord, the God of heaven's army, will send plague among the Syrian troops, and the flaming fire will consume its glory. The Lord, the light of Israel, will be a fire. The Holy One will be a flame. He will devour the thrones and bristles with fire, burning up the enemies in a single night. The Lord will consume Assyrian's glory, like a fire consumes the forest in a fruitful land. It will waste away like sick people in a plague. Of all that glorious forest, only a few trees will survive, so few that the child can count them. In that day, the remnant left in Israel, the survivors in the house of Jacob, will no longer depend on allies who seek to destroy them, but they will faithfully trust the Lord and the Holy One of Israel. A remnant will return. Yes, the remnant of Jacob will return to the mighty God. But though the people of Israel are as numerous as the sand of the seashore, only a remnant of them will return. The Lord has rightly decided to destroy his people. Yes, the Lord of heaven's army has already decided to destroy the entire land. So this is what the Lord of heaven's army says: O my people in Zion, do not be afraid of the Syrian. When they oppress you with the rod and club as the Egyptians did long ago. In a little while my anger against you will end, and then my anger will rise up and destroy them. The Lord of heaven's army will lash them with his whip, and he will then did with what he did with Gideon trumped over the Midianites and the rock of Oreb, or when the Lord's staff was raised down the Egyptians' army in the sea. In that day the Lord will end bondage of his people and will break the yoke of slavery and lift it up from their shoulders. Look, the Syrians are now at Eiat. They are passing through Migron and are storing their equipments in Mikash. They are crossing and pass and camping at Geba. Fear strikes down Ramna. All the people of Gibda and the hometown of Saul are running for their lives. Scream in terror, you people of Gelim. Shout out for the warning of Leasha. O poor Anoth, there go the people of Midima, all fleeing. The citizens of Gibim are trying to hide. The enemy stops at Nob and the rest of the day. He shakes his fist at beautiful Mount Zion, the mountain of Jerusalem. But look, the Lord of heaven's army will chop down the mighty tree of Assyria with great power. He will cut down the proud. That lofty tree will be brought down. He will cut down the forest tree with an axe. Lebanon will fall to the mighty one. Isaiah chapter 11. Out of the stump of David's family will grow a shoot, yes, a new branch bearing fruit from the old root. And the Spirit of the Lord will rest on him, the Spirit of wisdom and understanding, the Spirit of counsel and might, the Spirit of knowledge and the fear of the Lord. He will delight in obeying the Lord. He will not judge by appearance, nor make a decision based on hearsay. He will give justice to the poor and make fair decisions for the exploited. The earth will shake at the force of his word, and one breath from his mouth will destroy the wicked. He will wear righteousness like a belt and truth like an undergarment. In that day, the wolf and the lamb will live together. The leopard will lie down with the baby goat. The calf and the yearling will be safe with the lion, and the little child will lead them all. A cow will gaze near the bear, and the cub and the calf will lie down together. The lion will eat hay like cow, and the baby will safely near the hole of the cobra. Yes, the little child will put its hand in the nest of a deadly snake without harm. Nothing will hurt or destroy in all my holy mountain. As the waters fill the sea, so the earth will be filled with the Lord. In that day, the heirs of David's throne will be a banner of salvation to all the world. The nations will rally to him, and the land where he lives will be glorious space. In that day, the Lord will reach out his hand a second time and bring back the remnant of his people. Those who remain in Syria and northern Egypt, in the southern Egypt, Ethiopia, Elam, in Babylon, Hamath, and all the descendant coastlands. He will raise a flag among the nations and assemble the exiles of Israel. He will gather the scattered people of Judah and from the ends of the earth. Then at the last, the jealousy between Israel and Judah will end, and they will not be rivals anymore. They will join forces to swoop down Philistine to the west. Together they will attack and plunder the nations to the east. They will occupy the lands of Edom and Moab, and Ammon will obey them. The Lord will make a dry path through the gulf of the Red Sea. He will wave his hand over the Euphrates River, sending a mighty wind to divide into 7 stems so they can easily be crossed on foot. He will make a highway for the remnant of his people, the remnant coming from Assyria, just as he did for Israel long ago when they returned from Egypt. Isaiah chapter 12. In that day you will sing, I will praise you, O Lord. You were angry with me, but not anymore. Now you comfort me. See, God has come to save me. I will trust in him and not be afraid. The Lord God is my strength and my song. He has given me victory. With joy you will drink deeply from the fountain of salvation. In the wonderful day you will sing, thank the Lord, praise his name. Tell the nations what he has done. Let them know how mighty he is. Sing to the Lord, for he has done wonderful things. Make known his praise around the world. Let all the people of Jerusalem shout with praise with joy, for great is the Holy One of Israel who lives among you. Isaiah chapter 13. Isaiah, son of Amos, received a message concerning the destruction of Babylon. Rise the signal flag on the bare hilltop. Call up an army against Babylon. Wave your hand to encourage them as they march in the palaces of the high and mighty. I, the Lord, have dedicated these soldiers for this task. Yes, I have called mighty warriors to express my anger, and they will rejoice when I am exalted. Hear the noise of the mountain. Listen to the vast armies march. It is the noise and shouting of many nations. The Lord of heaven's army has called his army together. They come from distant countries, from beyond the farthest horizons. They are the nation's weapon to carry out his anger. With them he will destroy the whole land. Scream in terror, for the day of the Lord has arrived, at time of the Almighty to destroy. Every arm is paralyzed with fear. Every heart melts, and the people are terrified. Fangs of anguish grip them, like those of a woman in labor. They look helpless at one another, their faces aflame with fear. For see, the day of the Lord is coming, the terrible day of his fury and fierce anger. The land will be made desolate, and all the sinners destroyed with them. The heavens will be back above them, and the stars will give no light. The sun will be dark when it rises, and the moon will provide no light. I, the Lord, will punish the world for its evil, and the wicked for their sins. I will crush the arrogance of the proud, and humble the pride of the Almighty. I will make people scarer than gold, more rare than fine gold of air. For I will shake the heavens. The earth will move from its place when the Lord of heavens display his wrath in the day of his fierce anger. Everyone in Babylon will run about like a haunted gazelle, like sheep without a shepherd. They will try to find their own people and flee to their own land. Anyone who is captured will be cut down, run through with a sword. The little children will be dashed to death before their eyes. Their homes will be sacked, and their wives will be raped. Look, I will stir up the Medes against Babylon. They cannot be tempted by silver or bribed with gold. The attacking armies will shoot down the young men with arrows. They will have no mercy for helpless babies. They will show no compassion for children. Babylon, the most glorious of kings, the flower of Chaldean pride, will be devastated like Sodom and Gomorrah when God destroyed them. Babylon will never be inhabited again. It will remain empty for generations after generations. No man will refuse to camp there, and the shepherds will not bed down their sheep. Desert animals will move into the ruined city, and the houses will be haunted by growling creatures. Owls will live among the ruins, and the wild goats will go there to dance. Hyenas will howl in their fortress, and jackals will make dens in their luxurious places. Babylon's days are numbered. Its time of destruction will soon arrive. Isaiah chapter 14. But the Lord will have mercy on the descendants of Jacob. He will choose Israel as his special people once again. He will bring them back to settle once again in their own land. And people from many different nations will come and join them there and unite with the people of Israel. The nations of the world will help the people of Israel to return, and those who come to live in the Lord's land will serve them. Those who captured Israel will themselves be captured, and Israel will rule over its enemies. In the wonderful day when the Lord gives his people rest from sorrows and fears, from slavery and chain, you will taunt the king of Babylon. You will say, "The mighty man has been destroyed." Yes, your insolence is ended, for the Lord has crushed your wicked power and broken down your evil rule. You struck the people with endless blows of rage and held nations in your angry grip with unrelenting tyranny. But finally the earth is at rest and quiet. Now it can sing again. Even the trees of the forest and the cypress tree and the cedar tree of Lebanon sing out his joyous song. Since you have been cut down, no one will come down to cut us down. In the place of the dead, there is an excitement over your arrival. The spirits of world leaders and mighty kings long dead stand up to see you. With one voice, they all cry out, "Now you are weak as we are. Your mighty and power are buried with you. The sound of your harp in the place has ceased. Your maggots are your sheep, and worms are your blanket. You are fallen from heaven, O shining star, son of the morning. You have been thrown down to the earth. You who destroyed the nations of the world. You said to yourself, I will ascend to heaven and set my throne above God's star. I will preside over the mountain of the gods far away in the north. I will climb to the highest heavens to be like the Most High. Instead, you will be brought down to the place of the dead, down to its lowest depth. Everyone there will stare at you and ask, can this be the one who shook the earth and made the kingdoms of the world tremble? Is this the one who destroyed the world and made it into a wasteland? In the king who demolished the world's greatest city and had no mercy to his prisoners. The king of the nations lie in standard glory, each in his own tomb. But you will be thrown out of your grave like a worthless branch, like corpse trampled underfoot. You will be dumped into a mass grave with those killed in battle. You will descend in the pit. You will not be given a proper burial, for you have destroyed your nation and slaughtered your people. The descendants of such an evil person will never again receive honor. Kill this man's children. Let them die because of their father's sin. They must not rise and conquer the earth, filling the world with their cities. This is what the Lord of heaven's army says. I myself have risen against Babylon. I will destroy its children and its children's children, says the Lord. I will make Babylon a desolate place of owls, filled with swamps and marshes. I will sweep the land with the broom of destruction. I, the Lord of heaven's army, have spoken. The Lord of heaven's army has sworn this oath. It will happen as I have planned. It will be as I have decided. I will break the Syrians when they are in Israel. I will trample them on my mountains. My people will no longer be their slaves, nor bow down under their heavy loads. I have a plan for the whole earth, a hand of judgment upon all the nations. The Lord of heaven's army has spoken, and who can change his plan? Then he has raised, who can stop? This message came to me in the year King Ahaz died. Do not rejoice, you Philistines, that the rod has struck you and broken. The king who attacked you is dead. For from that snake of more poisonous snake will be born, a fiery serpent to destroy you. I will feed the poor in my pastures. The needy will lie down in peace. As for you, I will wipe out you with famine and destroy a few who remains. Wail at the gates, weep in the cities, melt with fear, you Philistines. A powerful army comes like smoke from the north. Each soldier rushes towards, eager to fight. What should we tell the Philistines' messengers? Tell them, the Lord has built Jerusalem. Its wall will give refuge to the oppressed people. Isaiah chapter 15. This message came to me concerning Moab. In one night the town of Ur will be leveled, and the city of Kir will be destroyed. Your people will go to their temple in Dibon to mourn. They will go to their secret shrines to weep. They will wail for the fate of Nebo and Medeba, shaving their heads in sorrow and cutting off their beards. They will wear burlap as they wander the streets. From every home and public squares will come a sound of wailing. The people of Heshbon and Eliah will cry out. Their voices will be heard from far away as Jahaz. The bravest warrior of Moab will cry out in utter terror. They will be helpless with fear. My heart weeps for Moab. Its people flee to Zior and Eglath and Shilasha, weeping. They climb the road to Luhith. Their cries of distress can be heard all along the road of Horonaim. Even the waters of Nimrim are dried up. The grassy banks are scorched, the tender plants are gone, nothing green remains. The people grab their possessions and carry them across the ravines of willows. A cry of distress echoes through the land of Moab, from one end to the other, from Eglim to Gerilim. The stream near Dibon ruins red with blood, but I am still not finished with Dibon. Lions will hunt down the survivors, both those who try to escape and those who remain behind. Isaiah chapter 16. Send lambs from Selah as tribute to the ruler of the land. Send them through the desert to the mountains of beautiful Zion. The women of Moab are left like homeless birds at the shallow crossing of Arnon River. Help us, they cry. Defend us against our enemies. Protect us from the relentless attack. Do not betray us now that we have escaped. Let our refugees stay among you. Hide them from our enemies until the terror is past. When oppression and destruction have ended, the enemy raiders have disappeared. Then Lord will establish one of David's descendants as king. He will rule with mercy and truth. He will always do what is just and be eager to do what is right. We have heard about proud Moab, about its pride and arrogance and rage, but all the boasting has disappeared. The entire land of Moab weeps. Yes, everyone in Moab mourns. For the cakes of raisins of Kir Harsha, they all gone now. The farms of Heshbon are abandoned. The vineyards of Sibmah are deserted. The rulers of the nations have broken down Moab and the beautiful great point. Its tendrils spread north as far as the town of Chizar and trailed eastwards as the wilderness. Its shoots reached far west, and they crossed over the Dead Sea. So now I weep for Jazer and the vineyards of Sibmah. My tears will flow for Heshbon and Eliah. There is no more shouts of joy over summer fruits and harvest. Gone now is the gladness, gone the joy of harvest. There will be no singing in the vineyards, no more happy shouts, no threading of grapes in the wine press. I have ended their harvest joy. My heart's cry for Moab, like a lament on harp. I am filled with anguish with Kir Hareshet. The people of Moab will worship as their pagan shrines, at their pagan shrines, but it will do them no good. They will cry out to the gods in their temples, but no one will be able to save them. The Lord has already said these things about Moab in the past, but now the Lord says, within 3 years, counting each day, the glory of Moab will be ended from its great population. Only a feeble few will be able and be left alive. Isaiah chapter 17. This message came to me concerning Damascus. Look at the city of Damascus will disappear. It will become a heap of ruin. A town of Arior will be deserted. Flocks will gaze in the streets and lie down undisturbed. No one will chase them away. A fortified town of Israel will also be destroyed, and the royal power of Damascus will end. All the remains of Syria will share the fate of Israel, departed glory, declares the Lord of heaven's army. In that day Israel's glory will grow dim. Its robust body will waste away. The whole land will look like a grain field. After the harvesters have gathered the grain, it will be desolate, like the fields in the valley of Rephaim. After the harvest, only a few of its people will be left, like stray olives left on a tree after the harvest. Only two or three remains in the highest branches, four or five scattered here and there on the limbs, declares the Lord, the God of Israel. Then at last the people will look to their Creator and turn their eyes to the Holy One of Israel. They will no longer look to the idols for help or worship what their own hands have made. They will never again bow down to Asherah poles or worship the pagan shrines they have built. The larger cities will be like the deserted forest, like the land of the Hivites and the Amorites abandoned. When the Israelites came here so long ago, it will be utterly desolate. Why? Because you have turned from the God who can save you. You have forgotten the rock who can hide you. So you may plant the finest grapes and import the most expensive seedlings. They may sprout
It's
on
10
the
o'clock.
day you set them out. Yes, they may blossom in the very morning you planted them, but you will never pick up any grapes from them. Your only harvest will be the load of grief and unrelieved pain. Listen, the army of many nations, roar like the roaring of the sea. Hear the thunder of the mighty forces as they rush towards like a thundering wave. But though they thunder like beakers of the beach, God will silence them, and they will run away. They will flee like shafts scattered by the wind, like tumbleweeds whirling before a storm. In the evening, Israel waits in terror, but by dawn its enemies are dead. This is just the reward for those who plunder us, and fitting end for those who destroy us. Isaiah chapter 18. Listen, Ethiopia, land of fluttering sails, that lies at the hard waters of the Nile, that sends ambassadors to swift boats down the river. Go, swift messengers, take a message to a tall, smooth-skinned people who are feared far and wide for their conquests and destructions. The whole land is divided by river. All people of the world, everyone who lives on the earth, when I raise my battle flag on the mountain, look. When I bow, the ram's horn listen. For the Lord has told me this. I will watch quietly from my dwelling place, as quietly as the heat rises on a summer day, or as the morning dew forms during the harvest. Even before you begin your attack, while your plans are ripening like grapes, the Lord will cut off new growth like pruning shears. He will snip off and discard your spreading branches. Your mighty army will be left dead in the field, for the mountain vultures and the wild animals. The vultures will tear the crops all summer. The wild animals will gnaw all the bones all winter. At that time, the Lord of Heaven's army will receive gifts from this land divided by rivers. From this tall, smooth-skinned people who are feared far and wide for their conquest and destruction, they will bring the gifts to Jerusalem, while the Lord of Heaven's army dwell. Isaiah chapter 19. This message came to me concerning Egypt. Look, the Lord is advancing against Egypt, riding on a swift cloud. The idols of Egypt tremble. The hearts of Egyptians melt with fear. I will make Egyptians fight against Egyptians, brother against brother, neighbor against neighbor, city against city, province against province. The Egyptians will lose heart, and I will confuse their plans. They will plead with their idols for wisdom, and call on spirits, mediums, and those who consult the spirits of the dead. I will hand Egypt over to a hard, cruel master. A fierce king will rule them. Say the Lord of Heaven's army. The waters of the Nile will fail to rise to flood the field. The riverbed will be parched and dry. The canals of Nile will dry up. and the streams of Egypt will stink, with rotten reeds and rushes. All the greenery among the river banks and all the crops along the rivers will dry up and blow away. The fishermen will lament for lack of work. Those who cast hooks into the Nile will groan, and those who use nets will lose heart. There will be no flax for the harvesters, no threads for the weavers. They will be in despair, and all the workers will be sick at heart. What fools are those officials of Zoan! Their best counsel is the king of Egypt is stupid and wrong. Will they still boast to Pharaoh for their wisdom? Will they dare brag about their wise ancestors? Where are your wise counselors, Pharaoh? Let them tell you what God plans, what the Lord of Heaven's army is going to do to Egypt. The officials of Zoan are fools, and the officials of Memphis are deluded. The leaders of the people had led Egyptians astray. The Lord has sent a spirit of foolishness to them, so all their suggestions are wrong. They cause Egypt to stagger like a drunk in his vomit. There is nothing Egypt can do. There is nothing Egypt can do. All are helpless. And the head and the tail, the noble palm branch and the lowly reed. In that day, the Egyptian cities will follow the Lord of Heaven's army. They will even begin to speak Hebrew, the language of Canaan. One of these cities will be Heliopolis, the city of the sun. In that day, there will be an altar to the Lord at the heart of Egypt, and there will be a monument to the Lord at its border. It will be like a sign that witnesses that the Lord of Heaven's army is worshipped in the land of Egypt. Then the people cry to the Lord for help against those who oppress them. He will send them a Savior who will rescue them. The Lord will make himself known to the Egyptians. Yes, they will know the Lord, and they will give their sacrifice and offerings to him. They will make a vow to the Lord and will keep it. And the Lord will strike Egypt, and then he will bring healing. For the Egyptians will turn to the Lord, and he will listen to their pleas and heal them. In that day, Egypt and Assyria will be connected by the highway. Egyptians and Assyrians will move freely between their lands, and they will both worship God. In that day, Israel will be the third among the Egyptian and Assyrian, a blessing in the midst of the earth. The Lord of Heaven's army will say, Blessed be Egypt, my people. Blessed be Assyria, the land I have made blessed. Blessed be Israel, my special possession. Isaiah chapter 20. In the year when King Sargon of Assyria sent his commander-in-chief to capture the Philistine city of Ashur, the Lord said to Isaiah son of Amos, Take off and burlap you have been wearing, and remove your sandals. Isaiah did as he was told and walked around naked and barefoot. Then the Lord said, My servant Isaiah has been walking around naked and barefoot for last 3 years, and this is a sign, a symbol of the troubles I bring upon Egypt and Ethiopia. For the king of Assyria will take away the Egyptians and the Ethiopians as prisoners. He will make them walk naked and barefoot, both young and old, their buttocks bared to shame of Egypt, and the Philistine will be thrown into panic. For they counted on the power of Ethiopia and boasted in the allies in Egypt. They will say, If this can happen to Egypt, what chance do we have? We were counting on Egypt to protect us from the king of Assyria. Isaiah chapter 21. This message came to me concerning Babylon, the desert by the sea. This disaster is roaring down on you from the desert, like a whirlwind weeping in from the cave. I see a terrifying vision. I see the betrayer betraying, the destroyer destroying. Go ahead, you Elamites and Medes, attack and lay siege. I will make an end to all the groaning. Babylon caused. My stomach aches and burns with pain. Sharp fangs of anguish are upon me, like those of a woman in labor. I will grow faint when I hear what God has planned. I am too afraid to look. My mind reels and my heart races. I long for evening to come, but now I am terrified of the dark. Look, they are preparing a great feast. They are spreading rugs for people to sit on. Everyone is eating and drinking, but quick, grab your shield and prepare for a battle. You are being attacked. Meanwhile, the Lord said to me, put a watchman on the city wall and let him shout out what he sees. He should look for chariots down by pairs of horses and for riders on donkey and camels. Let the watchman be fully alert. Then the watchman called out, day after day, I have stood up on the watchtower, my Lord, night after night, and I have remained at my post. Now, at last, look, here comes a man in a chariot with a pair of horses. Then the watchman said, Babylon is fallen, fallen. All the idols of Babylon lie broken on the ground. O my people, threshed and winnowed, I have told you everything the Lord of heaven's army has said. Everything the God of Israel has told me. This message came to me concerning Edom. Someone from Edom keep calling me, Watchman, how much longer until morning? When will the night be over? The watchman replies, Morning is coming, but night will soon return. If you wish to ask again, then come back and ask. This message came to me concerning Arabia. O caravan of Dedan, hide in the desert of Arabia. O man of Tema, bring water to those thirsty people, food to those weary refugees. They have fled from the sword, from the drawn sword, from the bent bow, and the terrors of battle. The Lord said to me, within a year, counting each day, all the glory of Kedar will come to an end. Only a few of its courageous archers will survive. I, the Lord of God of Israel, have spoken. Isaiah chapter 22. This message came to me concerning Jerusalem, the valley of vision. What is happening? Why is everyone running on the rooftops? The whole city is in tremble of roar. What do I see in this revealing city? Bodies are lying everywhere, killed not in battles, but in famines and disease. All your leaders have fled. They surrendered without resistance. The people tried to slip away, but they were captured too. That's why I said, leave me alone to weep. Do not try to comfort me. Let me cry for my people as I watch them being destroyed. Oh, what a day of crushing defeat. What a day of confusion and terror, brought by the Lord of heaven's army, upon the valley of vision. The walls of Jerusalem have been broken, the city of death echo from the mountain sides. Illuminates and the archers with their chariots and charioteers. The men of Kir hold up their shields. Chariots fill your beautiful valley, and the charioteers storm your gates. Judah's defense have been stripped away. You run to the armory for your weapons. You inspect the break in the walls of Jerusalem. You store up water in the lower pool. You survey the house and tear some down for stone to strengthen the walls. Between the city walls, you build a reservoir for water from the old pool. But you never ask for help from the one who did all this. You never considered the one who planned this long ago. At that time, the Lord of heaven's army called you to weep and mourn. He told you to shave your head in sorrow for your sins and wear clothes of burlap and show of remorse. But instead, you dance and play. You slaughter cattle and kill sheep. You feast on meat and drink wine. You say, Let's feast and drink, for tomorrow we die. The Lord of Heaven's army has revealed this to me. Till the day you die, you will never be forgiven for this sin. That is a judgment of the Lord of Heaven's army. This is what the Lord of Heaven's army said to me. Confront Shenibna and place administrator to give him this message. Who do you think you are, and what are you doing here? Building a beautiful tomb for yourself, a monument high up in the rock? For the Lord is about to hurl you away. Mighty men, he is going to grasp you, crumble you into a ball, and toss you away into a distant barren land. Then you will die, and your glorious chariots will be broken and useless. You are a disgrace to your master. Yes, I will drive you out of office, says the Lord. I will put you down from your high position, and then I will call my servant Eliakim, son of Hilkiah, to replace you. I will dress him in your royal robes and give him your title and your authority, and he will be a father to the people of Jerusalem and Judah. I will give you the key to the house of David and the highest position in the royal court. Then he opens doors, no one will be able to close them. When he closes doors, no one will be able to open them. He will bring honor to his family's name, for I will drive him firmly in places like a nail in the wall. They will give him a great responsibility, and he will bring honor to even the lowest members of the family. But the Lord of Heaven's army also says, the time will come when I will pull out the nail, and that seemed firm, so firm. It will come out and fall out to the ground. Everything supports will fall with it. I, the Lord, have spoken. Isaiah chapter 23. This message came to me concerning Tyre. Wail, you trading ships of Tarshish, for the harbors and the houses of Tyre are gone. The rumors you heard in Cyprus are all true. Mourn in silence for people of the coast, and you merchant of Sidon. Your traders crossed the sea, sailing over deep waters. They brought you grain from Egypt and harvest from along the Nile. You were the marketplace for the world, but now you are put to shame, city of Sidon. For Tyre, the fortress of the sea, says, now I am childless. I have no son or daughters. When Egypt hears the news about Tyre, they will be in great sorrow. Send word now to Tarshish. Wail, you people who live in distant land. Is this silent ruin all that is left in your once joyous city? How long history was yours? Think of all the colonists you sent in distant places. Who has brought this disaster on Tyre? The great creator of kingdoms. Her traders were all princes, and her merchants were nobles. The Lord of Heaven's army has done it, to destroy your pride and bring low all earthly nobilities. Come, people of Tarshish, sweep over the land like a flooding Nile, for Tyre is defenseless. The Lord held out his hand over the sea and shook the kingdoms of earth. He has spoken out against Phoenicia, ordering that her fortress is destroyed. He says, never again will you rejoice, O daughter of Sidon, for you have been crushed. Even if you flee to Cyprus, you will find no rest. Look at the land of Babylonia. The people of that land are gone. The Assyria have handed Babylon over to the wildest animal of the desert. They have built sage ramps against its wall, torn down in places, and turned into heaps of rubble. Wail, you ships of Tarshish, for your harbor is destroyed. For 70 years, the length of a king's life, Tyre will be forgotten. But then the city will come back to life, as in the songs about the prostitute. Take harp and walk the street, you forgotten harlot. Make sweet melody and sing your song, so you will be remembered again. Yes, after 70 years the Lord will revive Thea, but she will be no different than she was before. She will again be a prostitute to all kingdoms around the world. But in the end, her profit will be given to the Lord. Her wealth will be hoarded, but will provide good food and fine clothing for the Lord's priests. Isaiah chapter 24. Look, the Lord is about to destroy the earth and make a vast wasteland. He devastates the surface of the earth and scatters the people, priests and the lay people, servants and masters, maids and mistresses, buyers and sellers, lenders and borrowers, bankers and debtors. None will be spared. The earth will be completely emptied and looted. The Lord has spoken. The earth moans and dries up, and the land wastes away and withers. Even the greatest people on the earth waste away. The earth suffers from the sins of its people, for they have twisted God's instruction, violated his laws, and broken his everlasting covenant. Therefore a curse consumes the earth. Its people must pay the price for their sins. They are destroyed by fire. Only a few were left alive. The grape vines waste away, and there is no new wine. All the merrymakers say and mourn. A cheerful sound of tambourines is still. The happy cries of celebrations are heard no more. The melodious calls of the harp are silent. Gone are the joys of wine and song. Alcoholic drinks turns bitter in the mouth. The city withers in chaos. Every home is locked in and keep out intruders. Mobs gather in the streets crying out for wine. Joy has gone down to gloom. Gladness has been banished from this land. The city is left in ruins. Its gates battered down throughout the earth. The story of the same. Only a remnant is left. Like the stray olives left on the tree, or a few grapes left on the vine after harvest. But all who are left should shout and sing for joy. Those in the west praises the Lord majesty. In the east land give glory to the Lord. In the land beyond the sea praise the name of the Lord, the God of Israel. We hear songs of praise from the ends of earth, songs that gives glory to righteous one. But my heart is heavy with grief. Weep for me, for I wither away. Deceit still prevails, and treachery is everywhere. Terror and traps and snares will be your lot. You people of the earth, those who flee in terror will fall into a trap. Those who escape the trap will be caught in snare. Destruction falls like rain from the heavens. The foundation of the earth shaken. The earth has broken up and is utterly collapsed. It is violently shaken. The earth staggers like a drunk. It trembles like a tent in the storm. It fails and will not rise again, for the guilt of its rebellion is very heavy. In that day the Lord will punish the gods in the heaven, and the proud ruler of the nations of the earth. They will be rounded up and put in prison. They will be shut up in prison, and will finally be punished. Then the glory of the moon will wane, and the brightness of the sun will fade. For the Lord of heaven's army will rule Mount Zion. He will rule the great glory in Jerusalem, in the sight of all the leaders of his people. Isaiah chapter 25. O Lord, I will honor and praise your name, for you are my God. You do such wonderful things. You planned them long ago, and now you have accomplished them. You turn mighty cities into heaps of ruin. Cities with strong walls are turned to rubble. Beautiful places in distant lands disappear and will never be rebuilt. Therefore, strong nations will declare your glory. Ruthless nations will fear you. But you are a tower of refuge to the poor. O Lord, a tower refuge to the needy in distress. You are a refuge from the storm and a shelter from the heat. For the oppressive act of fruitless people are like storm beating against the wall, or like relentless heat of the desert. But your silence and roar of foreign nations As the shade of the cloud cools relentless heat, so the beautiful song of ruthless people are still. Boastful song of the ruthless people are still. In Jerusalem, the Lord of heaven's army will spread a wonderful feast for all people of the world. It will be a delicious banquet with clear, well-aged wine and choice meat. They will, there he will remove the cloud of gloom, the shadow of death that hangs over the earth. He will swallow up death forever. The sovereign Lord will wipe away all the tears. He will remove forever all insults and mockery against the land of people. And Lord has spoken. In the day, the people will proclaim, "This is our God. We trust Him and He saved us. This is the Lord, in whom we trusted. Let us rejoice in the salvation He brings. For the Lord's hand of blessing will rest on Jerusalem, but the Moab will be crushed. It will be like a straw trampled down and left to rot. God will push down Moab's people. As a swimmer pushes down water with his hands, He will end their pride and all their evil works. The high walls of Moab will be demolished. They will be brought down to the ground to the dust." Isaiah chapter 26. In that day, everyone in the land of Judah will sing this song. Our city is strong. We are surrounded by the walls of God's salvation. Open the gates to all those who are righteous. Allow the faithful to enter. You will keep in a perfect peace all who trust in you. All those thoughts are fixed on you. Trust in the Lord always, for the Lord God is the eternal rock. He humbles the proud. He brings down the arrogant city. He brings it down to the dust. The poor and the oppressed trampled it underfoot, and the needy walk all over it. But those who are righteous, the way is not steep and rough. You are God who does what is right, and you smooth out the path ahead of them. Lord, we show our trust in you by obeying your laws. Our heart's desire is to glorify your name. In the night I search for you. In the morning I earnestly seek you. For only when you come to judge the earth will people learn what is right. Your kindness to the wicked does not make them do good. Although others do right, the wicked keep doing wrong and take no notice of what's Lord's majesty. O Lord, they pay no attention to your upraised fist. Show them your eagerness to defend your people. Then they will be ashamed. Let your fire consume your enemies. Lord, you will grant us peace. All we have accomplished is really from you. O Lord our God, others have ruled us, but you alone are the one we worship. Those we served before are dead and gone. The departed spirits will never return. You attacked them and destroyed them, and they are long forgotten. O Lord, you have made our nations great. Yes, you have made us great. You have extended our borders and given us, and we give you glory. Lord, in distress we search for you. We pray beneath the burden of your discipline. Just as a pregnant woman withered and cries out in pain as she gives birth, so we are in your presence, O Lord. We too writhe in agony. With nothing comes of our suffering. We have not given salvation to the earth, nor brought life into the world. But those who die in the Lord will live. Their bodies will rise again. Those who sleep in the earth will rise up and sing for joy. For your life-giving light will fall like dew on the people in the place of the dead. Go home, my people, and lock your doors. Hide yourself from the little while until the Lord's anger is past. Look, the Lord is coming from heaven to punish the people of the earth for their sins. The earth will no longer hide those who have been killed. They will be brought out for all to see.
Isaiah chapter 28. What sorrow awaits the proud city of Samaria, the glorious crown of the drunks of Israel. It sits at the head of a fertile valley, but its glorious beauty will fade like a flower. It is the pride of a people brought down by wine. For the Lord will send a mighty army against it, like a mighty hailstorm and a torrential rain. They will burst upon it like a surging flood and smash it to the ground. The proud city of Samaria, the glorious crown of the drunks of Israel, will be trampled beneath its enemies' feet. It sits at the head of a fertile valley, but its glorious beauty will fade like a flower. Whoever sees it will snatch it up, as an early fig is quickly picked and eaten. Then, at the last, the Lord of heaven's armies will himself be Israel's glorious crown. He will be the pride and joy of the remnant of his people. He will give a longing for justice to their judges. He will give great courage to their warriors who stand at the gates. Now, however, Israel is led by drunks who reel with wine and stagger with alcohol. The priests and prophets stagger with alcohol and lose themselves in wine. They reel when they see visions and stagger as they render decisions. Their tables are covered with vomit. Filth is everywhere. Who does the Lord think we are? They ask. Why does he speak to us like this? Are we little children just recently weaned? He tells us everything over and over, one line at a time, a little here and a little there. So now, God will have to speak to his people through foreign oppressors who speak a strange language. God has told his people, here is a place of rest. Let the weary rest here. This is a place of quiet rest. But they would not listen. So the Lord will spell out his message for them again, one line at a time, a little here and a little there, so that they will stumble and fall. They will be injured, trapped, and captured. Therefore listen to this message from the Lord, you scoffing rulers in Jerusalem. You boast, we have struck a bargain to cheat death and have made a deal to dodge the grave. The coming destruction can never touch us, for we have built a strong refuge made of lies and deception. Therefore, this is what the sovereign Lord says. Look, I am placing a foundation stone in Jerusalem, a firm and tested stone. It is a precious cornerstone that is safe to build on. Whoever believes need never be shaken. I will test you with the measuring line of justice and the plumb line of righteousness. Since your refuge is made of lies, a hailstorm will knock it down. Since it is made of deception, a flood will sweep it away. I will cancel the bargain you made to cheat death, and I will overturn your deal to dodge the grave. When the terrible enemy sweeps through, you will be trampled to the ground. Again and again that flood will come, morning after morning, day and night, until you are carried away. This message will bring terror to your people. The bed you have made is too short to lie on. The blankets are too narrow to cover you. The Lord will come as he did against the Philistines at Mount Perazim and against the Amorites at Gibeon. He will come to do a strange thing. He will come to do an unusual deed. For the Lord of heaven's armies, has plainly said that he is determined to crush the whole land. So scoff no more, or your punishment will be even greater. Listen to me. Listen and pay close attention. Does a farmer always plow and never sow? Is he forever cultivating the soil and never planting? Does he not finally plant his seeds, black cumin, wheat, barley, and emmer wheat, in each its proper way, and each its proper place? The farmer knows just what to do, for God has given him understanding. A heavy sledge is never used to thresh black cumin. Rather, it is beaten with a light stick. A threshing wheel is never rolled on cumin. Instead, it is beaten lightly with a flail. Grain for bread is easily crushed, so he doesn't keep on pounding it. He threshes it under the wheels of a cart, but he does not pulverize it. The Lord of heaven's armies is a wonderful teacher, and he gives the farmer great wisdom. Chapter 29. What sorrow awaits Ariel, the city of David? Year after year you celebrate your feasts. Yet I will bring disaster upon you, and there will be much weeping and sorrow. For Jerusalem will become what her name Ariel means, an altar covered with blood. I will be your enemy, surrounding Jerusalem and attacking its walls. I will build siege towers and destroy it. Then deep from the earth you will speak. From low in the dust your words will come. Your voice will whisper from the ground like a ghost conjured up from the grave. But suddenly your ruthless enemies will be crushed like the finest of dust. Your many attackers will be driven like chaff before the wind. Suddenly, in an instant, I, the Lord of heaven's armies, will act for you with thunder and earthquake and great noise, with whirlwind and storm and consuming fire. All the nations fighting against Jerusalem will vanish like a dream. Those who are attacking her walls will vanish like a vision in the night. A hungry person dreams of eating, but wakes up still hungry. A thirsty person dreams of drinking, but is still faint from thirst when morning comes. So it will be with your enemies, with those who attack Mount Zion. Are you amazed and incredulous? Don't you believe it? Then go ahead and be blind. You are stupid, but not from wine. You stagger, but not from liquor. For the Lord has poured out on you a spirit of deep sleep. He has closed the eyes of your prophets and visionaries. All the future events in this vision are like a sealed book to them. When you give it to those who can read, they will say, "We can't read it because it's sealed." When you give it to those who cannot read, they will say, "We don't know how to read." And so the Lord says, "These people say they are mine. They honor me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. And their worship of me is nothing but man-made rules learned by rote." Because of this, I will once again astound these hypocrites with amazing wonders. The wisdom of the wise will pass away, and the intelligence of the intelligent will disappear. What sorrow awaits those who try to hide their plans from the Lord, who do their evil deeds in the dark. "The Lord can't see us," they say. "He doesn't know what's going on. How foolish can you be? He is the potter, and he certainly is greater than you, the clay. Should the created thing say of the one who made it, 'He didn't make me'? Does a jar ever say, 'The potter who made me is stupid'?" Soon, and it will not be very long, the forests of Lebanon will become a fertile field, and the fertile field will yield bountiful crops. In that day, the deaf will hear words read from a book, and the blind will see through their gloom and darkness. The humble will be filled with fresh joy from the Lord. The poor will rejoice in the Holy One of Israel. The scoffer will be gone. The arrogant will disappear, and those who plot evil will be killed. Those who convict the innocent by their false testimony will disappear. A similar fate awaits those who use trickery to pervert justice, and who tell lies to destroy the innocent. That is why the Lord, who redeemed Abraham, says to the people of Israel, "My people will no longer be ashamed or turn pale with fear. For when they see their many children and all the blessings I have given them, they will recognize the holiness of the Holy One of Jacob. They will stand in awe of God of Israel. Then the wayward will gain understanding, and complainers will accept instruction."